Is your imagination broken? Well, in this video, I'm going to give the 4 top reasons why you may be struggling to imagine, and you just might be fitting into any one of these 4 categories. And what inspired me to make this video is because often I will hear from many of you in the comment section in YouTube where it's hard for you to visualize, it's hard for you to imagine that you can struggle with guided meditations. And so my normal answer is to, rather than see it or imagine it, that you're going to feel it or just pretend, make it up. Um, and so there was a particular comment that came through from a woman, and I could feel it. I could feel that um, she felt unlike anyone else, where no matter how often she tried, no matter how many different people she worked with, no matter how many times she tried to do different guided meditations, she was always kind of left feeling like something was wrong with her. With everybody else who could do it, something was right, but with her, something was seriously wrong. And so, if you are listening to this video, thank you for letting me know how you feel. And as a nurse and psychic and clairvoyant, somebody who can see, I just want to go over the 4 top reasons why you might fit into one of these categories. And I will tell you that you're not alone, that a lot of people feel this way, but for your particular situation, I think it's a little deeper. I think, if you just can't seem to apply your imagination throughout your life, and it's a key spiritual concept. So let's go ahead and start here. So, let me just look at my notes again. All right. Have any of you ever sat in a meditation waiting for a vision or an image to appear and felt absolutely nothing? Or maybe your inner world is so vivid or chaotic that it really feels hard to even live in? Well, you're not alone. Whether you feel blocked or overstimulated, your imagination is never truly gone. It's just speaking to you in a language through experience that may be different from someone else. It could be that your brain is wired differently, or maybe there's some old trauma. And I'm going to be touching base with those situations. And I'm also going to be talking about what kinds of blocks in your energy field, your human energy field, can cause you to be challenged to imagine. All right, so let me get started. So, aphantasia is the word that came up when I looked it up to find out, are there truly people out there that just cannot imagine? So, aphantasia is a neurological condition where people cannot form mental images. So, no matter how much you try, it's just not going to happen for you. And so, in the inner world of aphantasia, it's more than meets the eye. So, if you've ever wondered what it's like to live without mental imagery, then you're not alone. People who have aphantasia are often called mind's eye blindness. They can't visualize images in their head, but it doesn't mean that your inner world is empty. Because that's one of the questions I had. Like, how does someone navigate life if you never get pictures, nothing ever comes through that way? But in fact, you can still have a rich, vibrant, and emotionally alive inner world. You just happen to do it in a different way. So people who have aphantasia, I've never heard of that word, have you? People who have this, they think in concepts, words, and logic. So instead of seeing a picture in your mind's eye, many people with aphantasia actually think in words, abstract ideas, and logical structures. They might even recall facts, timelines, emotional impressions without ever forming a mental movie. Many with aphantasia still feel like their memories are still deeply emotional. They still can have high sensory awareness, and you can be very sensitive to those memories, even though you don't actually recall them. You may remember a feeling of that moment, the warmth of the sun, the sound of the waves, the emotions being with loved ones, even if you cannot form a visual image. Creative expression, you happen with those with aphantasia, happen to do it in a unique format. People with aphantasia are often, and this surprised me as well, incredibly creative. So you may externalize your imagination rather than internalize it through writing, speaking, building, designing. Your creativity is expressed through sound, movement, structure, or story instead of pictures. There was a woman she was an advanced student when I was learning how to do readings. And she never, ever, ever, she didn't see, she didn't feel, she didn't hear. She even said she didn't know. She didn't have those four major clair sensitivities, intuitive sensitivities that we all can relate to, or most of us can relate to. And so I asked her, because she was a really good psychic reader. I just loved getting readings from her because she was so spot on. And you know what she told me? I just pretend like I'm telling a bedtime story. I just tell a story, and I just tell the story as it comes to me without ever connecting it to anything. And the person seems to feel that the story is accurate for them. And so this is that creative where they tell their creativity is expressed through stories instead of pictures. So she may have had aphantasia. Intuition and inner vision still exist for you. Visualization is not the only way to connect with your intuition. You've heard me tell that story a million times. And many with aphantasia experience intuitive insight, emotional clarity, and a sudden knowing. And your guidance system it just navigates you through feeling, sensing, and understanding in a different way. So it doesn't mean that you're broken if you have aphantasia. It just means that your inner world is never defined by images alone. So there are many ways that you still continue to experience beauty and wisdom and the mystery of life. Your path is still very valid, even if you can't see anything when you close your eyes. But your mind is powerful, and your soul speaks to you in unique ways. Okay. I really enjoyed doing the research on this. The next reason why your imagination just might go silent is trauma-induced shutdown of imagination, where your brain's survival wiring quiets creativity. There is an energetic disconnect from the sixth and seventh chakras. So in this situation, there is a psychological and neurological component to this, where actual traumatic events in your life, are just hardships. I think we label everything traumatic these days, but any kind of hardship that could disrupt you when you were growing up, that you experience this disruption where you may have had ongoing or childhood trauma, or you may have had your nervous system interrupted through maybe a physical illness or maybe a surgery, having your tonsils out, getting super sick when you were little and having to be hospitalized. So your nervous system will shift into survival mode through fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, becomes hyperactive. Your prefrontal cortex is responsible in the front for creativity, imagination, and rational thinking gets suppressed. And your default mode network, the part of the brain involved in daydreaming, self-reflection, and imagination, go offline. This neurological shift can make it hard for anyone to imagine greater possibilities or see the future in a scenario or even do any creative mental imagery because the brain is too focused on scanning any potential threats to keep the body safe. And there can also be, when you're growing up, where you just kind of lose all hope, or it's hard for you to see that there's any potential because you're so young, you can't do anything about what's going on in the family. And so there is this kind of going offline disconnect from even attempting to visualize that life could be any different than what it is in that moment. And then it remains offline as you go into adulthood. So disassociation and numbing to survive overwhelming trauma. This is exactly what I was talking about, especially emotional or relational trauma. Many people disassociate, which is like mentally and emotionally checking out. This often includes a shutdown of imaginative faculties because the inner world becomes unsafe or painful to visit. So imagination is a feeling-based process, and when emotions are numbed out and you are avoiding pain, your imagination can get very muted. Now, I often say, and I didn't even think about this, or I would have shared the book with you, but I often say that those who went through trauma at some point in your life make the best psychics. And why? Well, because you are hyper attuned to scanning to keep yourself safe, and you're reading your environment very rapidly, even if you're not aware that you're reading your environment. And so because I've been teaching psychic development for 25 plus years, it's often students will come in and they're highly adept at that intuitive survival scanning. And then what we need to do throughout the year we're working together is to move from that survival state to that thrival state, that thriving state, to be able to look at situations from a psychic point of view and not being afraid you're going to get hurt by it, but being able to sense intuitively all the good things that can happen in life. So it can take a little bit of time to turn that around, but it's very doable, and I will be talking about that as well. Loss of safe internal world. So as children and adults, you might use your imagination to escape, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit more as well. So from the energetic spiritual So what's happening is trauma hijacks the brain's resources. That's what I want to say. From the energetic spiritual view, the chakras and soul level effects, trauma can create scars or blocks around your third eye, especially if the trauma involved manipulation, betrayal, or not being believed. This can cause you to shut down your visualization and your intuitive seeing, creating fogginess, headaches, and confusion during meditation. I do remember my mother telling me a story that when she was in her 20s, she had this sudden psychic awakening, and she suddenly knew things about people, and she shared it with a few people. Well, she said next thing she knew, so many people were calling her. They were wanting to come for readings. She felt really overwhelmed. She didn't want that ability, and she remembers one day saying, "I just want it to all go away." And then when I had my psychic awakening, she came with me to the classes, and when they took a look, they said, Well, it looks like in your 20s you shut it down. Do you want to open it up again? And they said there was just this band around her sixth chakra. So sometimes you do it on purpose because you can be so overwhelmed by your own sensitivities. And in the crown chakra, you can really, that spiritual chakra, you can disconnect from your trust, faith, love, because the crown chakra closes down, blocking higher downloads, inspirations, and divine imagination that would normally allow you to see yourself as the creator. And then the heart chakra is also involved in this because imagination flows best when your heart can be open and feel safe. Trauma often causes the heart chakra to constrict. And since the heart chakra acts as a bridge between the lower chakras and the upper chakras, a closed heart can limit your ability to imagine. But here's the really, really good news is that imagination can return. And so by going to see a therapist, doing talk therapy to help you to navigate when and where you shut down your intuition and your imagination, doing inner child work, safe visualization exercises, very simple and safe ones, doing a lot of creative play, gentle energy healing, gentle clearing of the third eye, and nervous system regulation, such as breath work, any kind of somatic exercises, which somatic exercises is really sensing, can you feel what's going on in the body? And if you're numbed or disassociated, you can't feel what's going on. You are not getting those intuitive sensory experiences. And so going to a somatic practitioner can help you kind of guide you verbally to keep checking in until you can start to activate those inner feelings again. So let's see here. Did a lot of sheet 1, sheet 2. Sorry. Here, sheet 3. So one of the things I was really curious about was, as I was kind of doing the research about how trauma can suppress imagination, I know a lot of people who went through very extreme trauma and they have an incredible imagination. Like they could have written the Harry Potter books. They've got such a wild imagination. And I do work with a lot of students where their imagination is this big and I need them to learn how to focus it, narrow in, and create the world that's this big. And that can be just as hard to make your wild imagination more manageable and reasonable as it can for you to feel totally shut down in your imagination and you're trying to open it up. So let's say when imagination becomes escaped, trauma, fantasy, and the path is to getting that grounded. So not everyone who experiences trauma loses their imagination. Some develop a very vivid inner world. Now, I know I'm talking to a lot of you where you use your imagination as an escape. So it becomes a sanctuary for you. If you've known someone or you are someone who lives more in your imagination than the real world, then looking at life through a deeply compassionate lens can help you to understand what's going on underneath it all. So imagination for you or someone you know also comes through a survival strategy. So especially those who experience trauma in very early childhood, imagination becomes a form of emotional escape. It offers safety, control, and freedom when the outside world feels unsafe and chaotic. You can just turn within to your safe inner world. You can create vivid internal stories, characters, alternate realities, all from the comfort of your real life. You can also find imagination and fantasy as a way to find disassociation a little more comfortable. So disassociate is in a common trauma response where people can go blank or numb, while others retreat into that internal, rich, imaginative realm where you may seem distracted or daydreaming, spaced out, you can also struggle to live day-to-day life because you just want that quiet time so you can retreat to your inner world. Energetic signs of an overactive imagination. These individuals often have wide open third eye chakras, the sixth chakra, but very little grounding in your lower chakras. This may be a highly intuitive or psychic, but you struggle with practical matters, emotional intimacy, or physical embodiment. This pattern can show up as an astral overreach, spending too much time in the non-physical realms of the astral field. Now remember, living in fantasy can create a disconnect from the present moment, but it's also a testament to just how creative your soul is and how resilient it is to find ways for you to feel safe. So the key is not for you is don't shut down your imagination, but lovingly ground your imagination into the body and the heart so that those inner visions can nourish you and your life as well. Now, the fourth, so remember I've just talked about the top three. The fourth, from a psychic perspective, when I'm looking at your energy field, you can have an extremely blocked sixth chakra and seventh chakra that make it difficult for you to be able to imagine. So one can be religion, and the other one can be religion. And the third one can be that you were told, to be practical, that imagination and creativity had no worldly good. So I had a student, and she came in regularly for healing treatments. She always wanted to have such a strong relationship with God, with the divine. She wanted to be able to richly experience a visual world because she was already experiencing a really rich empathic world, a feeling world, but she wanted that visualization. So she joined my several of my classes over the years, and but it was like no matter how vivid the information she was getting from a sensory perspective, it was never enough because she was so disappointed that she couldn't see. So, are there any of you that are listening to this today that you can relate to that? Well, I was just reading some comments from someone saying, yeah, I had the ability to see before. And I was like, I do not like this at all. I don't want this. And so you personally can shut it down as well, just like that story I talked about with my mother. But I had worked 8 years with this particular student. And one day, so she called me, asked for some mentoring. And so she was describing, well, I had this that came up in meditation, and I had this, I saw this, and I saw that, and I saw this, and I saw that, and then this happened when I saw that, and then this appeared, and I'm like, wait a minute. Let's just back up a minute. Are you seeing this, or are you feeling this and imagining you're seeing it? She goes, no, I'm seeing it. Like, of course. I said I was seeing it. And I'm like, yeah, but let's back up a minute. All for 8 years, you've been telling me you don't see anything, but you're seeing something. And she said, well, yeah. And she never connected the dots of just how incredible that consciousness shift had been for her. And this is what I'm always talking about with consciousness. When you make a big consciousness shift, it's as if you never had that issue to begin with. Everything changes. And after that, she was able to visualize. Another thing is I went to a Vipassana silent retreat. So it's 2 weeks of a silent retreat. You're not able to make eye contact. You're not able to share at meals. It is totally silent. You're not able to journal. You're not able to walk around, and probably meditate about 12 hours a day. Well, I remember when I walked in, because I'm clairvoyant, and I don't know why I could see this, but it's as if I could see like a little black box in the center of everybody's head. So I'm going around and I'm like, why do they have a black box? Why do they have a black box? Why do they have a black box? So as we're going through the teaching, it was like day 5 in the teaching, we're breathing up through day 3 to day 5. We're doing a lot of breath work. And then we got the teaching that visualization is a distraction. So here it was in Vipassana, they're teaching everyone that if you visualize, you're distracting from your focus. So everyone had shut down their pineal so they couldn't visualize. So remember I said some religious or spiritual practices will teach you that. And so I let my pineal put a little black box over it. I really wanted to experience more visceral feeling sensations. And so I was okay with doing that. But another one can be in other religious beliefs where it's not okay to talk to angels or imagine portals opening or imagine the spirit realm. And so if you've been taught that that's frightening and you shouldn't open to that, then your whole 6th chakra is going to be blocked and your spiritual chakra is going to be blocked. Or it's like you're not allowed to have your own information. So you need to go through the priest or the whoever the head spiritual person is. And so from a very young age, it's like you're not taught that it's okay to think for yourself. So, so those are the 4 reasons. 1, you can have aphantasia. 2, you can shut it down from trauma. 3, your hyperactive imagination from trauma. And 4, spiritual programming, mental programming, social programming can shut you down as well. So we're going to do a guided meditation here. It's only going to be for about 15 minutes. And in this guided meditation, we're not going to visualize and we're not going to imagine. We're going to do an imagination where we just can feel and sense. Okay? So go ahead in this imagination, get ready. I'm going to call it a full sensory experience. And again, if you're not sensing anything, don't worry about it because the energy is still going to be moving. So go ahead and close your eyes and turn within. Allow yourself to feel into a sensory relationship with your body. And how do you do that? Well, allow yourself to feel the bottom of your feet and your toes. Allow yourself to follow the skin that wraps around your foot. And remember, you're not imagining this. You are picking up the sensory experience of the ankles, the knees, the hips. You're feeling and sensing and tracing the skin as it goes up the torso of your body, front and back and shoulders, arms and fingers. Sensing the skin around your neck, throat area, on the front and the back, side to side. Sensing your skin that goes around your mouth and covers up the teeth and the gums, even sensing your lips. Your cheekbones, sensing the tissue under your eyes, your eyelids, sensing your eyebrows, sensing your skin that covers your forehead, sensing going up from your neck, up the left side of your head, your left ear, your left jaw, the left side of your skull behind your ear, allowing your sensory ability to move right on up the side, left side of your head, all the way up. Shift your awareness to the right side of your neck, the right side of your head, as it covers you're following the skin sensations up the right jaw, the right ear, the back of your skull, on the right side, your temples. And then follow along in the back of your neck. You're following the sensation of your skin up the back of your neck. You're just following with your conscious awareness. You're not expecting to see or know or hear. You're just feeling or sensing all the way up the back of your skull. Allowing your awareness to complete its journey from the forehead to the top of the head, each side to the very top of the head, and the back awareness to the top of your head, where you're right there where your baby's soft spot would have been. Now, let's journey all the way back down again. So you are coming from the crown of your head. I'm going to give you just a moment of silence as you are tracing sensations through your skin, down the back of your skull, the front of your forehead, your eyes, your nose, your lips, down each side of your head, down through your throat to your shoulders. trace the sensory experience down your left shoulder, down through your left arm, all the way down through your elbow, your wrist, your fingers, just following the sensory experience of tracking your skin, how your skin feels. Now from the right side of the neck and the shoulder, down the right arm, right shoulder, elbow, wrist, fingers. Again, focused on sensory experience of your skin. Now track your sensory experience all the way under your arms. You've got skin there in the armpits. Track it under the arms, down each side of your body. Down from the front of your body, down through the chest and the stomach, upper belly, lower belly. Down your back, all the skin in your upper back, mid back, lower back. Just tracing the skin with your sensory ability. Down through the skin of your buttocks and your pubic bone. Tracking it down your left leg to the bottom of your foot. And then track it down the right leg to the bottom of your foot. Now, if you would like to trace your skin from the bottom of your feet to the top of your head and back down again a few times, then go ahead and pause this recording now. And for others of you, go ahead whenever you're ready, open your eyes and move your body around. Look around and see what the room looks like, just simply following some sensory experiences. And I would love to hear from you in the comment section about what that might be like for you. So again, for all of you who have asked me about imagination, and particularly for the individual who was really trying to understand, and again, I just want to emphasize, no, you are not broken. And imagination is like a muscle. It's a spirit. It's a companion. It may need healing. It may need grounding. It may just require listening on a deeper level, but it's all a part of you. And remember, you're not broken. And over time, you can reawaken to your imagination and your ability to visualize. But for some of you, you just might need to do a little extra supportive healing for that to happen. Okay? All right, everyone. Thanks so much for hopping on. I am currently in Egypt, but I will be back in a few weeks, and I look forward to seeing you all then. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.